Hi everyone, welcome to the Thought for the Day. And I just want to remind you once again, and I want to thank you as well for joining us at the 6-12-6 prayer initiative. So gather at 6 a.m., pray for the sick around Sri Lanka and around the world. The COVID cases have gone up to 414. Let's keep praying also for the medical staff and the doctors who are on the front lines, who are working their hardest. And we prayed today for Dr. Shehan Ladd as well, our very own Shehan Ladd. And then we want to pray at 6 p.m. in the evening and pray for the leaders as they steer us through this crisis and to bring us through the woods and into an open place. Now let's go to the thought for the day. Today is my last thought from John chapter 21. So no more camping in John chapter 21. But I'd like to read this to you from John 21 verse 24. It says, "This is the disciple who testifies to these things." This is the disciple who testifies to these things. Finally, John is saying, hey, I am the author of this book, which is really amazing. At the end, all along, I like what he has done. You know what he has done? He's hinting and saying that, hey, I am the person, but I'm not going to give you my name until the very end. And it's like he's saying, I am the disciple who leaned back on Jesus at the Last Supper. He was saying, I was the disciple whom Jesus loved. And then I am the one who told Peter, it is the Lord, in John chapter 20. And then in John 21, I outran Peter to the tomb. As I was younger, but I did not go in. I stayed outside. Peter went right inside, and then I followed. In other words, he's very realistic, not trying to show I was the first, but rather that Peter went right in and he saw everything that was going on inside the tomb. Now, he says these words. He says, I testify. Let me read that again. This is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down. We know that his testimony is true. I like those words. You know why? Not only did he testify, he wrote it down. He didn't just journal it just for himself, but what he did was he wrote this gospel to be read. In other words, I think as he has been commissioned by Jesus, John is also commissioning us and saying, hey, don't only testify, get ready, testify, write about it, do whatever you have to do. Spread this wonderful news around the whole world that Jesus is the Messiah. And so don't keep this message to yourselves, in other words. And then he goes on to say, I am the witness and my testimony is true. Remember, he wrote the gospel, but he also wrote the epistle of John. Both of them he wrote. And he says in 1 John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, from the beginning, we are telling you about what we have heard, what we have seen with our eyes, what we have looked at, and what our hands have actually touched. This we proclaim about the word of life, who is none other than Jesus. So why did he do all of this? Why did he testify? Why did he write it down? And this is the reason. He gives the purpose of his gospel. The purpose of John's gospel is found in the chapter just before, in chapter 20, verse 31. And these are the words, but these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Now, why am I and Pastor Sean, sharing you the thoughts for the day? That you may also believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that he is the Son of God, who he said he was. And he's the one who can turn your mourning into dancing. He's the one who can turn your sorrow into joy. And he's the one that can turn your COVID-19 into an atmosphere of peace in the midst of all the fear and trepidation. He's the one who can speak into all your fears and say to you, do not be afraid. My peace is upon you. I pray that during COVID-19 that you will experience his peace, his joy, his hope. And would you tell others? Would you mimic what John did? Don't keep it to yourself. Would you mimic what he did? And would you say, hey, this is my testimony? No one can argue with you about your testimony, about what Jesus has done in your life. Would you also write it down? And then I will tell others. I will not be quiet. Hey, shall we shout it from the rooftop that Jesus is the Messiah and that He is the Son of God who He said He was? Amen. Let's do it. Let's run like the disciples did right after the resurrection when they knew and they had met Jesus, like the ladies did when they met Jesus. Let's run and let's tell everybody, hey, Jesus is the Messiah and Jesus is the Son of God. Hey, God bless you.